Welcome to Miles Ahead, the Canadian Points podcast brought to you by FrugalFlyer.ca, where we talk about all things miles and points, a hobby that allows us to travel all over the world in style and on a budget. This episode will cover all the recent points and miles news, along with some questions from you, our loyal listeners. As per usual, I'm joined by my regular co-hosts, Josh and Jeff.
Happy to be here, Danny. Lots and lots of news this time around. So excited to chat about it.
Yep. Definitely our biggest news episode yet.
Yeah, this will be a chunky one. So let's get straight into it. The first, I think, best news that we have is from WestJet. And as our resident Edmontonian or Albertan closest to the Calgary hub of WestJet, Josh, please tell us the good news from the Western Airline of Canada.
For sure. So we've talked about it prior. You may have seen some clips on TikTok or Instagram about the legroom on the new 737 configuration. Essentially, the pitch was shortened to, I think it was 28 inches, I believe.
Yeah.
Which is very, very small. And they started rolling this out. People are rightfully pissed off that, you know, a lot of these seats, very tight fit. Personally, I wouldn't want to sit in a seat like that for longer than an hour at most. So got a lot of media attention. Like I said, lots of viral stuff out there. And WestJet has actually announced, previously they said we're going to stop, you know, retrofitting. Now they've said they're going to actually roll it back, which is a way better win for us. Obviously, there's still planes out there flying this config. It's not going to be something that changes tomorrow, but we will be going back to the normal seat pitch. Great change for those who unfortunately have to fly WestJet. You know, it's a reality for many of us, but this is a positive win. Flying is often at times already really crappy. So when changes like this are made that make it even worse, it just sucks for the average Canadian, sucks for the average consumer. So, you know, not the direction that we probably saw it going, and it sucks that it had to happen for people to realize and complain, but glad it's going the direction it's going now. So overall positive.
Yeah, kind of crazy that WestJet somehow decided to make that decision for 6 more revenue seats per plane.
Yeah.
It added one more row of economy to the whole cabin.
Pissed off a whole segment of travelers. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I can't imagine the economics would make that big of a difference. Allegedly, this was even approved by all the top brass at WestJet.
I read that too.
I don't know what's... Yeah, right? Yeah. Like this was tested and approved
they sat in the
by
seats.
top brass.
I did read this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah. Nuts.
You know,
absolutely crazy.
If the testing was, hey, we're going to sit in this for about 30 seconds, you know, I could see that. But yeah, I don't think any of them are flying, you know, 7 hours in these seats, to say the least.
Yeah, I think it's actually a pretty big win just for the Canadian traveling public in general, just because this blew up so publicly in WestJet's face that no other airline is going to try this now. So I think that's honestly probably the best result that could come out of this.
Yeah, short of like some actual consumer legislation surrounding like seat pitch on airlines, this is the best we have. So we'll take that.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yep, a different market than Europe with Ryanair and 2.5 hour flights where you can sustain it for, you know, that short period, but on longer and more regular flights, not sustainable whatsoever. Speaking of unsustainable, Jeff's predictions seem to be in major jeopardy. If you are a regular listener to the show, you'll know that we made some predictions that were released on Boxing Day of 2025. So just not even a month, or just a little bit more than a month ago. And Jeff's big prediction, well, why don't you tell the ladies and gentlemen, Jeff, what did you predict?
Yeah, no, this was my headline prediction. I think it was my first prediction that I made, that I didn't think we were going to see any new co-branded cards this year. I don't know. I certainly didn't have. Did you guys have Air Transat?
No.
Like, honestly?
No. That's
so. Yeah.
Ugh, yeah. Random.
I think I think Josh will back me up on this, but like being out here on the West Coast and he's in Edmonton, Air Transat does not operate a single flight west of Ontario. So like, do they even enter your thought process when you're thinking about?
Well, and that's when I first read this news, I was like, first of all, feels very random, just out of the blue. And then second of all, I was like, but do I even care? like that's
Yeah.
it's just irrelevant for us out
They
here.
could be
So
gone tomorrow and we never know.
my
the
life
difference.
wouldn't change. Exactly.
Yeah. So,
So I guess
don't-
to give the actual news would be that Air Transat and Desjardins, which is one of the national banks of Quebec, one of the Quebec domicile banks, I should say, are going to be launching some co-branded cards allegedly by the end of the year. So Jeff's prediction of no new co-branded cards could be up in flames as early as 5 weeks into 2026. But sorry, Jeff, you're going to add something there.
no, I mean, it's on shaky ground, but I'm not conceding defeat until
Until they're actually out. Yeah.
until it actually happens. Because, this is, I mean, I went to Desjardins' website and we never talk about them for good reason because they offer like 8 cards and they're all just generic cashback cards. So this is kind of the first kick at the can for Air Transat and Desjardins when it comes to the loyalty program. So who knows what happens? I don't really have high expectations for this. I don't know about you guys, but see what they come up with.
No. The only way to redeem points for Air Transat as it exists right now is through Porter, and it's not a great redemption. There's some decent economy stuff, but they don't offer an interesting business class. It's just premium economy style recliner seats on their A330s. So I don't think it's going to play into anything. But, maybe if there's a good cash fare and you need to check a bag, I don't know if I would waste the credit inquiry or even the time to think about applying for one of the cards to save $30 on a check bag fee. But I guess I also don't know how much a check bag costs on Air Transat because I'm in a similar boat where I've never even considered them as a flying option.
Yep.
So. But speaking of predictions, one of my predictions also appears to be a little bit up in flames starting 2026. So the good news about this is that I was able to redeem Aeroplan points on an Air Canada flight for 2.2 cents from Winnipeg to New York City, which is a lot higher than what I've been seeing just in my own personal searching and redemptions, usually 1.5, 1.6 cents, that sort of a thing. However, the eUpgrades were an absolutely terrible redemption. So I have a screenshot in our brief, and basically we have 12,000 points as the redemption level for the standard economy seat, or 22,000 points for the redemption level for the business class seat. If you want to upgrade using your eUpgrades, you have to spend 7 credits and $250 to use your eUpgrades to clear, and it's waitlisted, not even instantly clear, into business class. Or if you want to avoid $225, you would have to spend 22,000 Aeroplan points in Economy Flex. So at this point, you're going to spend 10,000 more Aeroplan points to save $225. That's basically buying Aeroplan points at 2.2 cents each, which is a terrible value.
Yep.
So I don't know. I predicted that eUpgrades were going to be more useful in 2026, but I don't see that immediately, at least in January of 2026 anyway. So I just thought that if we're going to rag on Jeff a little bit for having a bad prediction, I think that my prediction of eUpgrades being more useful should also be highlighted, because that's a pretty pitiful redemption value. Yeah, really, really bad. The copays being increased has not been something that I've enjoyed. But into some better news. If you're a regular listener to the show, you'll know that we recently did a deep dive into Flying Blue, the loyalty program of Air France and KLM, and that your American Express membership rewards Canada points can now transfer 1-to-1. So, Josh, please tell everybody some of the promo rewards that they can now redeem for excellent value in the month of February for travel within the next 6 months.
So we see these promo rewards come up every month, and it's always interesting to see what cities are on the list. Promo rewards, if you don't already know, we will include an article in the show notes, but essentially they're discounted fares that come up once a month for a variety of cities. So if you wanted to fly from North America to Europe from either Phoenix, Dallas, San Francisco, Montreal, Boston, New York, Los Angeles, Toronto, or Chicago, if you can find availability, you can book that from 18,750 Flying Blue miles, which is a great value. There's also the opportunity to book from Vegas for premium economy at 30,000 miles, which is still really good value. And then you can find some Air France business class awards from Washington for 45,000 miles. So there's some great value to be had there. Typically, this is what we see with promo rewards, is they're obviously very focused on the United States. That's just the nature of a lot of these routes. But we do have Toronto in there, and I have seen Montreal in the past. So it's always something worth considering. Or if you're able to easily position yourself to any of the cities on this list, there's a good opportunity to be had there for a future redemption.
Yeah, and there are a few cities like Los Angeles and Toronto and Chicago, which are included in the extra exclusive category of promo rewards, which if you remember from the episode where we did our deep dive, extra exclusive is a membership program. I think it's like 370-ish euros for the year, and you get access to these extra exclusive rewards. So without getting too much in detail of it, we basically kind of assumed that if you're booking multiple seats on one of these routes, pretty much up to 3 seats on one of these routes, it's probably worth buying the extra exclusive membership just to effectively buy those Air France KLM miles for a very reasonable price if you're going to be booking multiple seats. Booking just 1 seat or maybe even 2 seats, I don't know, is worth it. But if you're doing more than 2, I would say absolutely buy the extra exclusive membership and keep more points in your pocket. And Jeff,
I'm just going to quickly mention, I actually have an article coming up on Flying Blue Extra. I did a close look at the program, and look for that, and maybe, I don't know, sometime this month for a deep dive on Flying Blue Extra, and to see whether or not the program's actually worth it.
Well, you can't leave us on a cliffhanger. Give us a teaser. Tell
Honestly,
us what the some of the highlights are.
What you just said earlier is kind of the same conclusion that I came to. Very useful under the circumstance of buying Flying Blue points at a very reasonable rate. I wouldn't recommend buying this speculatively, like at the beginning of the year, just saying, hey, I hope it works out. If an extra exclusive flight happens to land in a city that you're happy with, then maybe it's worth buying. But outside of those circumstances, these programs are not that amazing, to be honest.
That makes sense.
No. Yeah. So for a deeper dive, look for Jeff's articles coming out sometime in the next 4 weeks. Now, back to Jeff again. We do have some interesting routes from a few different airlines and even an international carrier making their first appearance in Canadian City. Jeff, please tell everybody what's going on here.
So first one is WestJet. Their 100th destination is also their first destination in South America and the first destination from Western Canada to South America. They're going to be launching a 3 times weekly flight from Calgary to Sao Paulo, Brazil, beginning in November of 2026. So Calgary's been getting a lot of love lately, as we'll continue to discuss, because they have another really awesome flight coming up, also starting in November. But also Air Canada from Vancouver to Sapporo. That begins, I think, next winter, if I remember correctly. That's the first. Yeah, that's the only North American flight direct from North America to northern Japan. So this is looking to tap into that leisure destination where people maybe want to do ski trips to northern Japan. Danny, you've skied in Japan, haven't you? I thought you had.
I've thought about it.
Oh, okay.
I've thought about it. We've got it on the list, and we've certainly been thinking about it a lot. We've skied in the Alps quite a bit.
Okay.
We've done that 2 times, but Japan is right up there. My parents have a cruise leaving out of Singapore about this time next year. So my wife and I are already poking them a little bit to be like, hey, why don't you guys, make your way to Japan, adjust to the time zone? Well, kind of. Sapporo and Singapore are not in the same time zone. But, you're across the date line at the least. And, maybe you buy or maybe you have a condo that you're renting, and maybe we join you for little to no cost.
I like it.
Yeah, so I'm personally excited by that. I think the Vancouver-Sapporo route is likely to be empty in terms of business travelers. So your chances for an eUpgrade, in theory, should be higher. I mean, if we go based off of my eUpgrade example earlier, they're, again, not really any change from how they have been. But this is a leisure-heavy route. And typically on leisure-heavy routes, when we look at even other carriers, the complementary upgrades systems that they have in place, I shouldn't say complementary upgrades, the upgrade systems that they have in place tend to favor even lower status members than if you're based out of a super hub traveling to a business super hub. So I think that there's potential for upgrades here. And then they're operating it with a 787 as well, which is one of their highest density business class cabins.
Yeah, I will say, though, it is a 787-8. So you're looking at only 20 business class seats because that's the shorter aircraft. And I actually saw a thread on Reddit the other day because there's only about 30 days of availability for this flight so far, because I believe it begins in December, and being the end of January now. Someone did a search across all dates, and the cheapest business class redemption was 180,000 Aeroplan, and the cheapest economy was 70,000. So maybe that's just the initial pricing.
Yeah,
and we might see something better, but
it is also like, with December being loaded, right? You have that holiday travel period there. So who knows if that's playing into it. But yeah, that's always my concern when we see a new Air Canada route added. I'm like, okay, cool, love it. But booking that might be a whole other story.
Because this does fall into that mythical 55,000 distance band, as we always like to talk about, that we never see. But
it's true. It's true.
Yeah. Okay, and then on to the last new route we have to announce. Etihad. I'm so jealous of Calgary. Calgary gets Etihad.
That's wild.
I think Etihad. My favorite airline. I love flying on Etihad. That begins in November. They're going to be using a Dreamliner. No first class, unfortunately, it looks like. But their business class is still awesome. Danny, I know you love Etihad business class. I do too. Yep. So really, really exciting. And just to give a bit of a backstory on what's happening here. So the Canadian government has restricted the amount of weekly flights from the Middle East due to reduce competition from these airlines, because they have the resources to kind of overwhelm certain markets just due to their financial power. So a few weeks ago, Mark Carney was in the Middle East, and he announced that due to some increased trade relations, they're increasing the capacity from the Middle East. So that's why we're seeing this route, and I'm hoping we're going to see more. Something from Qatar and Emirates, maybe to Vancouver, fingers crossed. If not, increased capacity to Toronto or Montreal, I'm expecting. So this is probably the first announcement of what I'm hoping will be more.
And that would be great. I mean, I'll take increased flights from any of those cities you listed, of course. Vancouver would be stellar. Imagine having Qatar from Vancouver through to Doha. Like, that would be nuts. I know Seattle's right there, but it's just a little bit different not having to cross the border and whatnot. So that's cool.
I agree.
It's great news. Honestly, love to see it.
Yeah.
Yes. Great news and really interesting insight. I didn't even know that was the reason why Etihad was coming to Calgary. So, I mean, I still don't know if that explains why Etihad chose Calgary as their first destination, but they made our news segment.
They did.
So if they're wanting to get people talking about it, I guess that was achieved. Now, Josh, we do have some very exciting news in the Points Travel Festival Toronto, and an appearance that some of the Frugal Flyer team is going to be making.
Yeah, so there's kind of the first of its kind in Canada. So Points Travel Festival Toronto is happening on Saturday, April 18th. And this will be bringing together a bunch of the Miles and Points blogs and authors and speakers within the community. So Reed and I will be speaking there, which we're really excited. We'll share our topics to come once we get closer to, but excited to be able to connect with the community and share some of our insight. The conference itself, it's going to feature two different tracks. So there's a Canada track and a global track. They'll be running concurrently throughout the day, and each track will have sessions from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. there'll be some time for networking and refreshments and all that good stuff. You're not locked into a track. You can choose to attend some global sessions, some Canadian sessions, and kind of, grow your knowledge organically as you best find fit. If you are in town, there is also an optional cocktail party if you have a Saturday ticket. on the evening prior, April 17th. That includes some drink tickets and appetizers, and another great way to learn and connect with the community. So we will include a link in the show notes that has all the information that you need to know about that, as well as a link to the tickets. But we would love to see any of you there. I think, we've all attended many Miles and Points events, some big, some small, and there's always some great knowledge and value to be garnered from these events, and frankly, new friendships, right, at the end of the day. So, if you're in Toronto or, around there on those dates, it's well worth considering attending. And there will be potentially other Frugal Flyer members there. They might not be speaking, but, you might see some familiar faces.
Yes. So at the moment, I think Kieran is planning to attend. I'm thinking that I might end up making the trip up from New York to be there as well, if I got some other business going on. So the biggest thing for me is actually seeing Reed and Josh talk in front of a huge crowd. I think that's one of their favorite things to do.
Oh, yeah. Love it.
I personally can't wait to see how they handle that very unique situation. So it'll be a good time. Interested to hear what they have to say. Do you guys have a topic you've settled on, Josh?
Super, super high level right now, but leaning more towards the U.S. side of things. Reed's a big ITIN guy, right? So that's a big thing. And I've been going a lot deeper with American Express US and increasing velocity of welcome bonuses and how many approvals you can do and whatnot. So it might be something in that space, but TBD, don't hold us to it.
TBD indeed. And we do have a link to buy tickets included in the show notes. And if you do choose to attend the conference, buying a link through our ticket is a great way to support the team. And we would very much appreciate you doing that. On to the next piece of news. We have some big news, seemingly out of the blue, that BMO has decided to rebrand Air Miles to be Blue Rewards. Bit of a tongue twister there, but a shocking move, really, that BMO decided to kill off one of the most recognizable brands in points and miles sort of
since forever
recognition in Canada.
Like
since forever.
That's loyalty in Canada is Air Miles, right?
Yeah, is Air Miles. They've been around for such a long time. So Cash Miles and Dream Miles are gone. I mean, they already were combined. I got an email in my account not too long ago.
2 days before the big change, it rolled out.
Yes, that they combined it into a single currency. 1,500 Blue Rewards points equals $10 for an in-store discount or an e-gift card, which, if it sounds familiar, it's the exact same redemption schedule as BMO Rewards, which they have on their line of credit cards right now. So why in the world BMO would want two different named rewards currencies that redeem for the exact same value? Unsure. I think I don't know. What do you guys think? What do you guys make of this?
Feels like there's a bigger strategy in play here. We'll see what happens with the existing BMO Rewards program. I'll be honest, it kind of slights me knowing it's 1,500 Blue Rewards for $10. I like even numbers. I like even currency conversions.
Yeah.
Scene Plus is so amazing and so understandable for so many people because it's 1,000 Scene Plus is $10. It's easy.
Yeah.
It just kind of puts it off, or I guess starts it off on the wrong foot for me, and maybe that's unfairly judgmental, that's its own thing, but I want to be optimistic. I hope. I would love to see something Scene Plus-esque, I guess, because it's such a great program, but we'll see what BMO has up their sleeve.
Yeah.
The optimism
Jeff,
at an all-time high right now.
Yeah. I want to be optimistic too, but Air Miles / Blue Rewards really needed an injection of life, in my opinion. It's just fallen so far behind every other loyalty program in Canada. Is this what's going to bring it back to life? I'm not so sure if this is going to be it. We'll see what they come up with, though. I mean, I don't think we know how travel is going to work for redemptions yet, or at least the value of the points. So that's going to be a big part of it, I think. So we'll just have to wait. Yeah, we'll just have to wait and see.
I think that's the kicker, right? There's so many unknowns right now. You get the little bits of information this week, but we don't know what the new cards are going to look like. We don't have all of the finer details of what redemptions will truly look like. What's really interesting, and I think kind of Jeff hit the nail on the head, is they almost need an infusion of life into a program like this. Like, they've lost so many heavy hitting partners over the past few years, right? For so many years, like Safeway, Sobeys, any of those stores were synonymous with Air Miles. That was just the partnership. And then that went over to Scene. Some other news with this is the Shell partnership is moving over from BMO to Scene now as well. So that's another huge partnership. And it's, you know, it's tough to see BMO losing all those partners and going over to Scene. So maybe that's what spurred this. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? But in terms of that Scene Plus news, starting March 3rd, so relatively soon after this episode publishes, is going to be the start of earning Scene Plus points at Shell. That's going to be just in Alberta. And then May 26th, the rest of Canada, you can earn your Scene Plus points. So 1 Scene point for every liter of fuel, so less than 1% cash back, effectively, with the price of fuel obviously going to be fluctuating a little bit here and there. And then you earn 1 point for every dollar you spend on car washes and convenience items. I actually think that this is a downgrade, to be honest. Yes. One of the things that I really enjoyed about Air Miles is they would have these flash promotions where you could earn 95 Air Miles, effectively worth $10, when you filled up with 30 liters of fuel. So 30 liters of fuel would be basically $40. You get $10 back. It's like a 25% rebate on your fuel. And this is a 0.5% rebate.
That's pretty bad.
On your fuel.
Yeah.
And I personally can't see Scene Plus offering 25,000 Scene Plus points, or not, excuse me, not 25,000, 2,500 Scene Plus points for filling up with 30 liters of fuel. Yeah. I just don't think that's going to be a thing.
Kicker, right? Like, if they do some promotions, maybe it's good, but at these rates, I can't even be bothered. You know what I mean? Like, it's just so little for, 40 liters is 40 Scene points. That's cool. Yeah. Like, I might as well go pick, pennies off the sidewalk if we still had pennies in Canada. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah. Well, I mean, to be fair, the Air Miles earn rate was also pathetic.
It was yes. It was the bonuses.
For every 20 liters of fuel, you get 1 Air Mile. Yeah. However, it was the promotions that really did the kicker for me, right? So now that that's not around anymore, will we see Scene Plus do the same thing? My gut feeling is no, considering that their grocery promotions have been like spend $100 and get $5 in Scene Plus rewards. But it is good to have more opportunities to earn Scene Plus, because I will say that I engage with that program in the most normal way of anything. Like, I redeem my Scene Plus points for movies all the time, because I'll end up with, redeeming at 1 cent per point. I'm going to buy the movie ticket anyway. Yeah, I'll get a free movie ticket. Yep. Absolutely. So it is the most cashback like currency for me. In some RBC news, we have a matching all-time high offer. This offer has been around for quite some time. It comes and goes. One of the most consistent bank offers in Canada over the last 24 months. 55,000 welcome bonus points for the Avion Visa Infinite and Platinum. You get 35,000 points on approval, 20,000 points on $5,000 to spend. I think most of our listeners have heard us talk about this bonus before, and we're not 100% sure if it's worth chasing that extra 20K, because you're basically getting 4 points per dollar or 5 points per dollar on everything. And I don't know if it's really worth trading the opportunity for restaurant spend or grocery spend that you could be getting Amex points, which are now even more valuable with Flying Blue. But if you have a big bill to pay, or you're paying your rent through Chexi or something, and you want an extra, 3, 4, 5 points per dollar, worth it. But that's not the only offer that's been increased. We also have the Infinite Privilege. And who wants to talk about that one?
So we have 70,000 Avion points on the Privilege version of the card. So obviously, with it being a Visa Infinite Privilege, there's a much higher income requirement. So just something to be aware of. But you can also earn 35K on approval. You can also earn the 20K on $5,000 spend in the first 6 months. And then you have 15K on renewal. So essentially, there's that extra 15K on renewal. Is that really worth it? Probably not over the Visa Infinite or the Platinum. Similar to what Danny said on the 20K on 5K spend. I think a lot of us probably wouldn't go for that. I have gone for it in the past when I've had the spend capacity just with nothing else to use it on. But it's not anything life-changing. But good offers. I'm so happy that RBC consistently turns the tap on with this good offer for a handful of months. We don't have it for a few more, and then just like clockwork, it comes back every time. It's nice to have that level of certainty.
Yeah. I was just going to say the only thing missing is the FrugalFlyer rebate.
Yeah, trust me, we would love to bring that back. I am always having conversations, hopefully soon.
Yes.
A little bit extra.
My last point that I wanted to...
Go for it.
Yeah, my last point that I wanted to make on this was that I actually did recommend this offer to some point-curious people in my life where, they're interested in getting started in it, but, they aren't going to spend a lot on a daily basis. This card offers a huge chunk for $5K in spending, right? Like earning 55,000 points for spending $5,000. It's basically like earning 11 points per dollar, which you're not going to find. To get this amount of points that quickly, you're not going to find with any other offer in Canada right now. Combine that with the fact there's often 30% transfer bonuses, and you've got a one-way business class ticket to Europe, right? Using Aer Lingus with low taxes and fees. So if you've got some points curious people that are in your life that want an easy in, and they're not so sure if the Cobalt is going to work for them based on their spending patterns. Obviously, Cobalt first, always, ideally preferred from a business platinum, which earns 20K per Cobalt referral. And that if they're not 100% for that, then the 55K offer is a great way to at least give them some transferable points that you can then help them with. And maybe that'll then turn on the referral tap for you when they see the magic and how these points work. They'll be all in and willing to sign up for those more expensive Amex cards. Speaking of Amex, we've got some Centurion Lounge changing, Centurion Lounge rules changing. Jeff, what are the details here that we have all about the Centurion Lounge access rules?
Yeah, so if you've ever tried to visit a Centurion Lounge in the States, you'll often be walking up to the lounge and see a line running out into the terminal. So these changes are kind of targeted at that. They're just trying to control overcrowding. That's really all this is. So if you're bringing in a guest, the guest now needs to be on the same flight. I guess that wasn't the rule previously.
No,
honestly, I don't know.
I'm pretty sure.
Guess not. Yeah.
Like I guested Danny in or Kieran or someone into a flight at one of our meetups, and we were not taking the same flight last year.
Okay.
So
no.
Yeah, not a lot of
so I guess
that.
So that's one new thing, and there's now a time limit of 5 hours on a layover. I think when you were on a layover before, it was probably unlimited, which is usually the case when you're on a layover. And there's some unaffected lounges. Mumbai. Did anyone actually know that there was a Centurion Lounge in Mumbai? But okay.
Nope.
Mexico City, Monterrey, Mexico, and Stockholm. I didn't. Yeah. So those are unaffected by these changes. Amex has been trying a lot of different things in the U.S. to control Centurion Lounge overcrowding. So we saw the restriction of guests for the Platinum card last year, and now I guess maybe that didn't quite do enough, so now there's more.
Yeah. Not surprising.
Yep. Just something to be aware of. So that starts July 8th. So probably not going to affect a lot of people, and I'm not sure if it's going to make that much difference overall, but it is something to be aware of, that if maybe you're traveling with a coworker and they're going back to a different office or a different home base, you won't be able to get them into the lounge anymore, and avoid yourself that embarrassment. But moving on to some Scotiabank news. There are some changes starting as of today. Well, today is recordings, which will be live by the time this actually goes. Josh, please tell everyone what's happening with the Scotiabank Momentum Visa Infinite.
Absolutely. Nothing crazy, but we have seen a few things shift. So there's now a new earning category of 2% on food delivery. Nice to have. Not going to change anything revolutionary. There is still the spending cap, so it's 4,000 or on 4%, and that's on like your recurring bills and all that stuff. It's $25,000. That used to actually be by calendar year. It's actually by cardholder year now. So that's an important distinction to make. If you are, for example, signing up for a card in October, you cannot run $25,000 by the end of December and get that 4% cash back. you need to think of it, okay, I signed up in October, I now have until essentially next October to run that 25,000 down. Something to just be aware of if you're using Chexi or any of those other things that may code as a recurring bill payment, as I know these are really popular cards for that. Probably the most impactful change, so previously cashback earned on this card was only redeemed once per year in November. Incredibly random, kind of nice to have it near the holidays if you need a little bit of extra spending money, but you couldn't ever trigger it yourself. You now can. So provided you have a minimum balance of $25 cashback in your account, you can redeem it as you best see fit. And that frankly brings it in line with pretty much every other cashback card in Canada, where cardholders have a bit more control over when and how they're redeeming their cashback. So overall, reasonable changes, nothing crazy.
Yeah, no, very convenient that you can actually redeem your cash back at any point in time versus having to wait until then. That'll do it for the news that we have. We're going to move on to our questions of the month. And the first one comes from Wendy. Wendy submitted her question on the podcast forum. She says, there's so much excitement in the US about the new Bilt card changes. I'm not sure if I'd describe it as excitement, Wendy, but there's certainly a lot of chatter going on about the Bilt card changes. Can we see any benefit for her, for a Canadian that might have access to American credit cards? Should I get the Bilt card? What is the best strategy? And thanks. Well, Wendy, I'll take this question as I personally do reside in New York City, and I've been thinking a lot about the Bilt card because it's pretty much targeted for young professionals living in big U.S. cities. It is so complicated. I personally don't think that I'm going to go for the Bilt card. And the reason for that being, well, it would be nice to have more Alaska and Hyatt. I don't have a reason for more Alaska and Hyatt right now. And I'm lucky that I have the option to pay my rent in the U.S. Through a portal that I just get charged a 2.5% fee, and I can work towards free night certificates, that kind of thing. As a Canadian, I don't see much point. I think if you're interested in this as a Canadian, you can earn Alaska miles at a greater clip with the Summit Bank of America card that earns 3 Alaska miles on every 1 foreign US dollar spent, which works out to like 2.2 Canadian dollars for every, or 2.2 Alaska points. So I don't know. I don't think this has any relevance to Canadians, and I also don't know how good cardless is with ITINs. I know that some I don't think they're going to be I don't think they're going to be very friendly towards it. I know some Canadians previously did have Bilt cards. If you did have a Bilt card and you're a Canadian with an ITIN, please let us know if you were offered the opportunity to change over to this new card. But I don't think any of the cards are interesting from a Canadian perspective, and we're not going to spend much more time on it than that.
Can you even get a Bilt card?
Yeah,
with an ITIN?
You could, yeah. So I've met quite a few folks that were able to get their hands on Bilt cards using ITINs.
Okay.
So if you had one and you're getting switched over and you're now invited to apply, let us know how it went, and we're happy to share those data points for all of our listeners. Darren submitted this question to the podcast forum. Darren has a very long question, but basically his wife has access to standby flights as she's an airline employee. So he doesn't really feel a reason or a need to collect airline miles because they fly for just the taxes and fees. He's now looking for a strategy to collect hotel points, but the hotel points, other than Hyatt, of course, are really jacked up in terms of the last minute travel. He's not interested in getting to U.S. credit cards, but he loves our show and wants to know our thoughts. I'm going to let Josh go first because I know that he's team Canadian credit cards only.
Yep. It's tough in Canada. It's tough for hotel points. That's just the reality we live in, right? We only have the 2 co-branded Marriott cards. So you have the Marriott Bonvoy American Express and the Marriott Bonvoy Business by American Express. So that's where I would start. I would get both of those cards, frankly, for both yourself and your wife. There's no reason to not have 4 of them. Get the welcome bonuses on those, and they also come with the free night certificate worth up to 35,000 points. You can top that up with 15,000. Still kind of maybe tough to use depending on where you travel and where you tend to go, but I think there's a lot of value there. The other thing that comes to mind for me is with membership rewards also earned on various American Express cards, you can transfer to hotel loyalty programs. Again, if you're completely avoiding airline miles, it's not a bad option. For many of us, we can't avoid airline miles, so we tend to transfer to those frequent flyer programs, but could be worth considering. Yeah. What about you guys?
Jeff, I'll let you give your thoughts first.
I feel like Danny's just going to come and like trump us all with some crazy like advice with the way he's leading us on here.
Yeah.
No, I agree with everything that Josh said. I mean, you can also look at some of the fixed point currencies too. And the thing with using points is that you usually get a really good, because he's worried about last minute cancellation as well. You usually get a really good last minute cancellation policy when you're using points or certificates. It's you usually have like up to the day before a lot of times. And you may even be able to sneak in a date change to extend that, to take advantage of that cancellation policy too. So, yeah, unfortunately, just not a lot of options in Canada. So, yeah, that would be the routes I would go. The co-branded Marriott cards and some fixed points currencies, and take it from there.
Yeah. Darren, my advice is probably not what you want to hear, but as somebody who plays in the US game quite a lot, I need another hotel credit like I need a hole in the head. Like the amount of US credit cards that I have that go unused with hotel credits is bonkers. It's actually annoying how many hotel credits I feel like I have to use up every year. So if hotels are something that you're trying to maximize, you would probably be looking at like a 25 to 75% discount on most of your stays with all the hotel credits that exist through the US, like the Hilton cards. You've got $50 a quarter on the Business Platinum. You've got $50 a quarter on the Surpass. You've got $200 semi-annually with the Aspire card. You've got a $300, well, it's a food and beverage credit on the Brilliant card. But the Sapphire preferred $50 every year. Like at the Amex FHR credits, $300 every 6 months. So I think that you would probably benefit from getting yourself into that game because there are so many hotel credits that you would be able to maximize. If that's the only thing that you're trying to cover and you don't have interest in anything else, that's probably the best bet. Or the alternate side is there's quite a lot of people that attend our meetups and points and miles meetups in general that need to use up their hotel credits. And maybe there's some sort of a deal you can make with,
That's true.
with some of the folks here, right? Buying hotel credits effectively. So if you're in the area of any of our Frugal Flyer meetups or you want to come meet the team at the Toronto event, we'd be happily shake your hand and talk hotel credits out the wazoo. All right, our next question from Dane on the podcast forum. Dane has quite a long question that kind of revolves around applying and closing and switching cards, particularly upgrading and downgrading within Amex and RBC. We had mentioned in some previous episodes about some strategies around the Avion cards, about applying in a certain time period, kind of every 91 days. It's worth noting that RBC is cracking down on that a little bit. It's kind of some anecdotal evidence, but they are denying new applications if they see that you've had many, many Avion bonuses over time. The thing that Dane asks at the end of his question is if he switches between the Avion base and premium cards, so the Platinum and the Infinite, would that trigger the welcome bonus? The answer is maybe. You might get a partial bonus when you switch between the RBC credit card products. It's going to be a partial bonus. It's not going to be the full welcome bonus. If you want a full welcome bonus, you do need to just apply outright for the card again. And as I mentioned, RBC is getting a little bit stickier on giving those full welcome bonuses. So you might not be approved even if you have excellent credit score, kind of similar to the lending standards that we're seeing applied by Amex Canada, where they're choosing not to apply customers that they don't deem profitable, and they're not sharing what profitable is or who they want as customers. They're just flat out denying folks. Our final question from Mike Canmore. Mike, we love your questions. We appreciate them every time they come in. Mike says, I love the podcast. I learn something with each episode. My question is, with the various Visa Infinite privilege cards on offer these days, I'm curious if you know what benefits like lounge access, insurance, priority gate access, and priority boarding are included with supplemental cards, and if the primary cardholder has to be present to access those benefits. Josh, do you know off the top of your head, are supplemental cards privy to the VIP benefits?
I don't. And it would be, is it not situational based on the card itself, though?
Well, it is a little bit vague in his question. Depends on which supplemental card you have. So, for example, the Visa Infinite Privilege, which is, I imagine, what he's referencing here in his VIP question, the supplemental cards cost $200 a year, and they do come with the exact copy-paste set of benefits. So these supplemental cards will still continue to have lounge access and Zone 2 boarding and all that from Aeroplan side of things. I don't think it's not that I don't think, I know that the primary cardholder doesn't have to be present. It's just linked to your Aeroplan number, and when you pay your $200, your authorized user gets all of those benefits. Jeff, do you have anything else to add?
No, I was just thinking because for the Aeroplan Reserve from Amex, it has a free supplemental card and a paid one. I don't know if the VIP is similar to that, but you have to have the paid supplemental card through Amex to get those benefits. I don't know. Do you know if there's a free supplemental card from the? Yeah. Okay. So it just applies to
There
Amex.
is not.
Yeah.
That's correct.
That's a good catch,
that's only
though.
an Amex special.
Yeah. I mean, if they're going to offer the benefits, they definitely want some money up front for it. So
They want the cash.
yeah. So yeah, could be worth it if you didn't want to have two people hold two separate cards, right? Especially if those benefits are worth, why not?
Definitely. Well, one thing that I've done to maximize these Aeroplan Premium card benefits is the authorized user bonuses from Amex. Not only do I reap the benefits of the points, but I also get to treat some family members who wouldn't otherwise have lounge access to all of those nice privileges. And that'll do it for this episode of Miles Ahead. We thank you very much for showing up and listening to us ramble about the latest points and miles happenings. If you enjoyed today's show and you'd like to see more of this, leave us a comment on the podcast page or a comment wherever you're watching or listening. If you're watching this on YouTube, we greatly appreciate a like on the video. And of course, reviews are always appreciated. We thank you again for showing up and listening or watching to us, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye, everybody.
Bye.